Welcome everyone to another video. In today's video I wanna go over a bit of like infantry tips and tricks, to be honest. I wanna like give you how I play the infantry, the things that I do, how do I like see the different infantry marches. And I mean, look, the most important tip or trick is gonna be the first one, okay? That's something that every single alliance, every single infantry member needs to do. Like, it's borderline mandatory, and not everyone does it. Us ourselves don't really like do it consistently enough, which is something that we need to improve on. But yeah, first what I'm gonna speak about is the current. Like, I honestly believe you should only play 3 infantry marches right now. Like, I know like people can play up to 5. The issue is I think past those 3, the rest are really suboptimal, really give you like a lot of sub wounds, not many merits. Or, well, like for example, Madeline Thea will give you a good chunk of merits at least. But I think, to be honest, you're probably helping better your team bringing like Margaret Zaida and like the new mages, Max, and literally being able to kill the enemy faster than bring like a guard with some bullshit just to tank further for your team. Like yes, you're still gonna get one shot super fast, and you're really not like applying the buffs, like dealing a decent amount of counter-attack damage. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna start. So the current infantry marches that we have are Kuma, Leikwan, Gorsh, Gogol, then Falmogro. That for me is the 3 marches that any infantry main should play, to be honest. Like, that's for me the setup. Then you can go with things like Madeline Thea and what is it? Garwood Indies, Garwood Mushang. You can do, for example, Garwood Hosk, you can do Garwood Madeline, and then you go, like, for example, Thea Nika. Like, you can do some weird other marches like that. You can even do, for example, Garwood Tara. Like, that still, like, I find some value due to Tara's second skill, but still, it's gonna, like, destroy your hospital. So, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, again, I feel George is better off going with like 3 inf, Margaret Zaida, new mages, and supporting your team that way. But yeah, so I'm gonna speak mainly about those 3 infantry marches, and I'm gonna separate them in the 3 groups, or like the 3 categories that I think those infantry marches are currently. So you have one type of infantry, which is your front line. Okay, that infantry excels at like taking damage, dishing some counter-attack damage, and applying the buff. For me right now, the best marks that you can have to go infantry versus infantry is Kuma Leikwan, okay? The main reason is, 1, you're gonna help your team kill the enemy infantry super fast due to this HP stealing the buff. The marks get super tanky the moment you steal HP. You get a good chunk of attack here, which helps your counter-attack damage, although it's not as good as Skogul. But yeah, you get a lot of HP, you get a lot of tankiness. Then you have Leikwan, another stacking skill based on the amount of normal attacks you receive, some damage. So yeah, for me, this is better than, for example, Gorsh Kogul as a pure frontline inf to inf march, because Gorsh Kogul, while it has like better counter-strike damage for all the marches hitting you from behind the enemy infantry and is still tanky, it lacks that debuff that really helps your like thin out the enemy infantry so your team can kill it faster. Okay, now for me, Gorsh Kogul right now, if you have Kuma Leikwan, for me are more like a flanker type of infantry. So you play them a bit like cavalry per se. You like, if your frontline is like getting destroyed, you want to use them as frontline. But if not, if your infantry is superior, you can use them to flank from the sides and like YOLO it into the enemy range DPS ball. You're gonna proc the Spirit Bone Torque, get increased counter-attack damage, Venomous Lizard, hitting everyone for some damage. Like, probably you're not gonna kill anyone, but you're, 1, preventing the enemy infantry from killing your Kuma Leikwan. So the moment like let me just pull the paint. Okay, so let's imagine, okay, this is your infantry wall, this is the enemy infantry wall, and here you have the enemy DPS marches, okay? Now, the moment this infantry wall clashes with the enemy infantry wall, both range units are hitting it, okay? And I mean, depends on heroes, the amount of marches, but the moment one of the infantry walls sits, then the other infantry will push into the enemy DPS, and then the enemy DPS will just start running non-stop away, and I mean at that moment like you gain the momentum. Now this we know is going to be filled with Kuma Laquans, so what you can do with your Goresh is send it through the side to here, okay? Now when you're yelling like this, yes, your Goresh goal will die, but you're preventing these range units from hitting the main infantry wall and hitting your this still will trade even decently, to be honest, due to the high counter-attack damage. It will dish some damage, but you're making time for the enemy infantry wall to die faster, so your team can get momentum, okay? Like that's what I envision right now, Gorshkol being the best at, okay? You can really deep YOLO it into the enemy DPS, still trade kind of okay, and help your team like distract the enemy DPS pretty much, okay? Again, if the Kuma's Lake one start dying, then you send it to the front line and you make it like another frontline march, and that's completely fine. Now, the third march is gonna be Danfal Mogoro. Now, for me, this march is kinda like interesting because when I see Danfal, the name is Tiny Juggernaut. You see this skill, this looks to be like really strong through support to your other marches by reducing the Legion damage received. You have like defense, HP, like pure stats, target damage taken bonus, you have a shield. The issue for me with Danfal Mogoro is that it's really not that tanky, and it gets like, on average, it's say 20k extra sub wounds than Kuma Laquan or Gorsh Cole, which is substantial. Now, the main reason you want to use this march is one, it's not Danfal itself, it's Mogoro. You have another massive HP debuff, you have some AoE skill damage, you have an AoE, like an HP debuff that spreads out to more marches, but you don't want to use it as a Kuma Laquan because it's not as tanky and it's gonna get you wrecked, okay? So you want to use this march for me is what I'm gonna call like a support or like a reactive infantry march, and I will only use this march if you have the Danfal shield, okay? Danfal shield of sturdiness for me is one of the most insane infantry artifacts, and these artifacts really help you win the fights on the open field. Maybe in the report you don't see that it dealt that much damage, maybe in the report you don't see that like crazy numbers of damage, okay? But you can use it for instances, like for example, let me show you. Let me just do a new one. Okay, let's say for example, infantry versus infantry wall, okay? Now let's say your infantry wall dies, okay? You have your Danfal Mogoro sitting behind here. The enemy infantry is gonna push and is gonna hit your DPS marches who are trying to retreat, because there's no more infantry. What you do is you clash and you shield bash them backwards. At this moment, you're letting your DPS marches be relieved, and you're becoming now the front line, a backup front line if you wanna call, okay? Like that's one of the plays that you can do with the Shield of Sturdiness, which is save your DPS that got caught by enemy infantry by pushing the enemy infantry out. Another thing you can do, for example, let's say infantry walls, enemy DPS marches, okay, for example. The shield has a substantial range. You can use it as a flanker, you get here, and what you want to do is you want to use Shield of Sturdiness to push enemy DPS marches into your front line. Those marches will get one shot, and now you have become part of the front line, okay? That's still a good usage, okay? Like that's fine. Another thing you can do with your Shield of Sturdiness is, like again, Danfal Mogoro you kinda want to have on the backup, and you don't want to really yeet it at the start of the fight, okay? Another thing you can do is if the enemy is using blink infantry, let's say they blink their infantry, you engage with your Danfal Mogoro, and again, Shield of Sturdiness, now you remove the blink march from here, your DPS can move freely, and the enemy infantry is pushed back. Shield of Sturdiness is really a team play artifact. Again, maybe in the report you will not say, oh, that's an insane artifact that is giving me a lot of merits, but if you use it for situations like this, it can really help you and your team like trade better or win the team fight itself. So that's how I envision the current 3 meta infantry marches, I'd say, to be honest. For example, Garwood Indies, Garwood Mishang is gonna be a front line. You don't really want to yeet it behind like Gorsh Gowl, not enough counter-attack damage. He's gonna get melted and will barely deal any damage. Madeline Theia, same stuff. like this is gonna give you 100k save wounds per round. At least it's giving you some decent merits, okay? That's how I will, I will only use the 3 other infantry marches. Now let's move into tips and tricks, okay? The first one is you don't wanna 5 ball or 3 ball and give it your infantry at the same time, okay? There's no reason for that. It's actually hurting yourself and your team. Let's say, for example, I'm deploying my 3 infantry marches, okay? Again, I'm deploying my 3 infantry marches. Let's say this is directly against the enemy, okay? I'm not going like selecting the 3 of them and dragging them and throwing them out. Even if only one gets targeted, there's so much AoE damage in the game, your infantry will get chewed up slowly by the enemy AoE. So you want to spread them out. You yeet first your Kuma wherever, okay? And this has to be coordinated with your alliance. If my Kuma Lake 1 is fighting here, maybe you can send like another inf here or another inf here, but you don't want all your alliance to throw all their infantry at the same time, especially if it's choke points. Other infantry players need to be checking the HP of my marches. My march drops to like red HP, then you re-engage with another Kuma Lake 1, okay? By the time it gets there, it's probably about to be dead, and now you still have a front line to maintain. And once this dies, then again the same thing. The main reason is you want to avoid overstacking your infantry, taking unnecessary AoE damage. 1 infantry and 100 infantry marches on the same spot, like literally here, will block the same amount of marches, okay? The only exception is cavalry. If the enemy comes with 5 cavalries, you need 5 infantry marchers to stop that cavalry. Because unyielding rush, pretty much, okay? You need to charge with the infantry charge into the unyielding rush charge. And you can only block 1 march, that's the only exception. But for enemy infantry, your Lake 1, if all the infantry is coming on a straight line, he can stop 1 march or 200 like the same way. So this is the most important thing. Do not send all your infantry at once. You're gonna like manage your stamina better, you're gonna have more uptime of that shield wall that's preventing the enemy from killing your range marches, okay? Like, that's crucial. Another thing I want to mention is blink infantry, okay? If you want to blink infantry with any march, I mean, for me there's only 2 really like viable options, which is like Kuma Lake 1 and Gorsh Kohl. Ideally you want to go with Kuma Lake 1 because of the debuff. Or honestly, Kuma Mogro might even be like the bread and butter for blink infantry. Because your intention is you blink into the enemy infantry, okay? You prevent it from escaping, and now you're applying all that massive HP debuff, so your DPS marches are just one-shotting the enemy marches non-stop, okay? Tips for blinking. So let's say, for example, by the way, the pet, like obviously you wanna be melee range, so really good synergy with this. Let's say, for example, this is my blink march, okay? The most important thing is 1, you only want to blink when you're pushing into the enemy. Do not blink if the enemy is pushing into you. Don't blink if the front line is not moving. The main reason is you're gonna blink, none of your DPS marches are gonna be able to support you, you're gonna get 1 shot and you will be sent back with barely any impact, okay? Like for that, just use your infantry as like a front line, and that's way more valuable. Now let's say you're pushing into the enemy territory, they're on the run. Now that's one of the things that you need to check, but there's more, okay? If the enemy is running and they have still infantry, you don't want to blink yet, because the main issue is, let's say there's enemy infantry here and the DPS are here, are starting to run, and go blink. Guess what happens? I'm stopping the enemy range, which is good, but the issue is all my DPS are probably stuck hitting this infantry. By the time they kill this infantry and are able to support my blink infantry, I probably am dead already, okay? Okay, that's kinda cool that. But yeah, so you need to check for 2 things. 1, you're pushing into the enemy, and 2nd, the enemy has no infantry or maybe 1 march. And you need to be able to coordinate with your team, so you don't want to blink and then your DPS push. That's too slow. You want your DPS to push because you're gonna blink, okay? You push your DPS so you blink and you stop them. So for example, at this point, maybe in boys, I'm okay, DPS push, I'm ready, okay, I see my DPS moving. Like, if I say push and there's like one Garwood, one Kuma, ignore it. Like, it's not gonna wreck like 50 DPS marches, okay? Just ignore it, your DPS marches start walking forward, the enemy sees that, they're gonna pull back, because like that's how mages and archers are played. The moment like you're getting targeted, you start running backwards, and now I wanna blink. I blink, I stop all of them, my infantry, like my DPS is here to support me, and they just kill them. I recommend this artifact over the storm arrows, to be honest. Several reasons. One, it gives you HP, way better than the other stat for infantry. Another reason is you can go back. Sometimes you might miss your blink. Like, let's say this is the enemy DPS and I blink here, I fucked up, I did not block anything, I just press again the artifact and I still have like a good infantry march that now works as a front line, or I just keep it on the back waiting for the cooldown. You cannot do this with the storm arrows, okay? Now when you go with the storm arrows, you're fully committing no matter if you missed or not, okay? I think that's pretty much it about infantry. Like, again, it's not like a super high skill based unit like as cavalry. Cavalry, you have like way more stuff that you can do with unyielding rush to move around the map, to reduce incoming damage. Infantry is pretty much like straightforward. You want to take damage, you want to try to dish some damage. But yeah, if you're gonna take something out from this video that you need to apply, is the point about spreading your infantry, okay? Do not 5-ball your infantry into the enemy, okay? Like, sure, you're still gonna deal damage, you're still gonna tank, but you're taking too many casualties from AoE for no reason. And like, if you spread your infantry out, maybe your infantry lasts for 5 minutes, but if you YOLO all your infantry at once, maybe they last for 3 minutes. Because like, sure, not all your infantry will die at once from AoE, but they are losing units slowly through the AoE. But yeah, I think this is pretty much gonna be it. Again, my recommendation, 3 infantry marches for now. I'm close to awakening Kuma, like 2 skills away, like 120 heads. I'm gonna awaken him, then I'm gonna awaken Lake One, and then I will work slowly on Mogoro Downfall while I'll save my universals for the next infantry. Like, I want to run 5 infantry marches. The issue is I don't value like Garwood or like Madeline Thea as really like a good infantry march. Like, it's just wrecking my hospitals. But yeah, hope this was helpful. Might do another one for cavalry, as it's the 2 troops that I specialize on. Catch you in the next one.